Deputy Librarian, Gautam Buddha University, Greater Noida. I welcome you all in this webinar. This webinar is jointly organized by Bodhisto Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Library, Gautam Buddha University, Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh, and Central University of Tamil Nadu, Thiruvaru, Tamil Nadu, powered by Avesco Information Services. Today we have with us Dr. Sneha Tripathi, Deputy Librarian, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, as a resource person. A very warm welcome you, ma'am. I also welcome to Dr. Akhandanand Shukla, Associate Professor in Central University and convener of this webinar.
Thank you.
Now it is time to introduce the topic of this webinar, that is ethics in education and research. As we know that ethical research is very important for the betterment of our education system as well as for our society. Plagiarism is a global issue faced by all countries. To avoid the plagiarism in academic and research, various efforts are being taken at international and national level. In India, UGC approved the UGC Regulation 2018 with regard to promotion of academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher education institutions. This regulation is dedicated to address plagiarism by students, researchers and faculties at Indian university and colleges. Besides that, the MHRD, Government of India, has launched the So Sindhu program in 2009. Under this project, plagiarism detection software is being provided to Indian universities and institutions. At present, they are providing Urkund software to Indian universities and institutions. For discussion in details about functioning of Urkund, Dr. Sneha Tripathi ma'am will demonstrate it in her topic, that is Urkund, combating plagiarism through technology. With this keynote, I would like to invite Dr. Akhandanand Shukla ji to introduce our speaker, Dr. Sneha Tripathi ma'am. Dr. Shukla, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity to introduce our resource person, Dr. Sneha Tripathi. She is the Deputy Librarian at Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Presently, she is in Computer Division at Central Library, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. She did her PG in Documentation and Information Science from DRTC, Bangalore. And she did her PhD in Library and Information Science from University of Kalyani under the late Professor Yulan Krishna Sarkhel. She has approx 30 research publications of various natures into her account. Besides this, she has delivered a number of lectures, invited talks, and practical sessions in workshops as a resource person. Her area of research interest includes library automation, digital libraries, research and academic integrity. She is the University Coordinator for National Digital Library Program of Government of India and Sodhganga. She is the recipient of Flanders Inter-University Council Scholarship and has attended international training program Stimulate at Brussels, Belgium. And before handing over session to Madam, I would like to make one announcement that requested to everyone, all attendees, that they should mute their audio and off their video during the webinar for better connectivity. And they can send their questions through chat box. Registration form and feedback form and e-certificate form will be shared during the webinar to chat box. And there will be one registration for which covers all the parts. So please do not ask separate registration form or feedback form frequently through messages. We'll share it to you on fixed time, and you will be given 10 minutes time to fill up. It take hardly 1 minute to fill up the form. And during filling of the form, please be careful about your spelling of emails, names, and institutions. Last day program, you have seen many mistakes are there, and people have filled the wrong emails, so they cannot receive their certificates. And you will have option to correct ones. When you correct them, only will generate the certificate. So please avoid the wrong submission, which will create the problem in certificate generation. Hope you all will take the care of these precautions. Thank you very much. Now, I request you, Dr. Sneha Tripathi, to start the presentation. Madam, now it's over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla. Before I start, I would like to formally thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to interact with the research lot. And let me start sharing with my presentation. Today, I will be talking about Arkund. As we all know that Arkund has been freely made available to all the central universities and academic institutions in India. And this has relation to the UGC regulation 2018, which came in which came for higher education institution for promotion of academic integrity in education institutions. So, like I said, that there has been a great deal of enthusiasm around these anti-plagiarism tools. Uh, Probably at one point of time, as I have seen, like I have experienced that most of the time that the students or the scholars, they think that an anti-plagiarism tool is a solution for everything, like to combat the plagiarism as such. So, my presentation, yesterday there had been a deliberation on research academy in research integrity in academics, where Dr. Tripathi has elaborated about the various key takeaways to avoid plagiarism in research writing. There she also mentioned about uh, the enthusiasm which has been around anti-plagiarism tool and where people are an anti-plagiarism tool comes as a tool for to cater with the plagiarism. So my presentation in this presentation I do not intend to propagate, like this particular presentation is about Arkund, which is being propagated by UGC in CliveNet, and but I do not intend to propagate any anti-plagiarism tool as such. The intention behind this particular presentation is to make people aware about how an anti-plagiarism tool works and make people sensitized about the limitations or the facility it offers to combat plagiarism. As we all know that what anti-plagiarism tool does, it does similarity check against the already existing literature, definitely the literature which is existing online. So you can say that those literature, so lot of literature we all know that remains unpublished in online format. They must be lying in printed form in the books, which has not been digitized. Like we all know that many books which are written in Indian languages, they probably still have to see the daylight where they can be made online to the academia. So definitely anti-plagiarism tool has its limitation regarding this. Then an anti-plagiarism tool checks for the potential plagiarized text. Once a document is submitted, it does the potential plagiarized text that available in the document, and then obviously it allows human revision. As I have already mentioned that it is freely provided, Arkund is freely provided to all the central universities and academic institutions. But that doesn't mean that somebody is not paying the cost to procure it. Arkund, like any other anti-plagiarism tool who can really serve our purpose, comes with a lot of cost, which certainly the UGC in CliveNet must be paying for. So Arkund again, it works on certain search algorithms which are proprietary to the software itself. Then it does similarity check between the text of the document, similarity check within the document against the documents which it has in its database. And the best part of this particular tool is that it is a web-based solution. So you don't need to install any software or any plugin to use this particular tool. It also supports various text document formats like your docx format or PowerPoint presentation, PDF, textual text format, RTF, and this OpenOffice, including these zip files. If you are going to upload, it takes care of that. Arcund in its databases, when a document is submitted to Arcund, the document gets checked against the internet resources, also the published material, like journal article, and also the submitted document will be checked against the student material which has been submitted to the Arcund previous to the. So if we look into the Arcund environment, we will find three role players. One is admin. So if you have access to Arcund, if your institution has access to Arcund, or you are an individual user of Arcund, have paid and got individual access to Arcund. So an admin account will be created for that particular institution or for that particular individual user. And there are two other role players. Uh, there is receiver and there is submitter. So the receiver can be anybody like your faculty member or the librarian or other stakeholders in that particular institution. And these receivers can be created by the admin using the admin tool. Uh, so and as far as the submitter is concerned, the receiver can define submitters. Even the admin can define the submitter. You can submitter as long as you have access to Arcund analysis address. A submitter, hello, am I audible?
We can hear you, madam.
Okay, okay. There had been some disturbance, so I thought. So, yeah, a submitter could be anybody like a student, a research scholar, or a faculty member. If you consider the entire scenario, all receivers are submitters, but all submitters may not be the receivers. You will understand it even more when I will explain the workflow, which is being displayed across your screen. When a submitter submits a document to Arcund using an analysis address specific to the institution or the individual, and Arcund does the similarity check against the documents which it has in its database, and based on the analysis done, it generates an analysis report for the submitted document, which gets delivered to the receiver. The receiver, after receiving the report and after going through, if the receiver feels that the similarity index in
Madam,
particular document, yeah.
Are you running PPT or data you run PPT?
This is PPT only.
Audience want to see PPT. You are not sharing a screen.
Oh, okay, fine. One
Please share the
second.
screen.
Okay. One second. This is the workflow. Probably then the other users would not have been able to see the Arkund. Okay. I'll continue with this particular slide only. So when we see the scenario, this is how whatever has been flashed right now, flashing in front of your screen. This is the workflow for the Arkund. The workflow is quite simple. The submitter, they prepare their document and submits the document to the Arkund using a specific analysis address, and the analysis report is generated for that particular document, and then it is sent to the receiver who could be a faculty member or anybody, any authorized receiver of your institution. So the receiver, after going through the report and thoroughly analyzing it, whether the similarity index is proper and within falls within the limit, the document or the manuscript will be accepted by the receiver. If the receiver feels that further revision is required, he may forward the analysis report to the submitter, uh, so that the submitter can rework and resubmit, and this is how the entire workflow goes on.
Madam, do you have video off?
No?
Your screen we can
Please
see,
on.
but your video we cannot see, madam.
Uh, but I shared. It said that you share your entire screen.
No, no, your video, your personal video, madam.
No, it's I did not disable it. I just said start sharing my entire screen. So previously it worked. Huh?
Presenter video will also come, madam. Please just see, otherwise okay.
Just check. And I have to stop sharing. Go back to my. I really don't know what went wrong when I considering considering the registration process for submitter as a submitter to register yourself as a submitter is quite easy. You just need to create an account on Arkund portal. The information required to create a profile on Arkund portal is quite easy. You just need one email ID, and then you enter your name and password, and you can straight away go ahead creating the account. So once you are done with this, uh, a verification link will be sent to your registered email ID. You need to verify your account, and once you have verified your account, you can log into your log into the Arkund portal using the email ID which you have used for registration work. So log into your account using this particular URL. Once you are logged in, you will be taken to an interface something like this. You just need to enter your email ID and password. Once you enter it, a dashboard like this will get opened. Right now, you are able to see two documents on the screen, but when you are a first time user, as I had been using this Arkund for a while, so you can probably see the documents listed. Otherwise, this particular area, the dashboard will be area will be empty for you for the first time user. So this is how the interface or the dashboard for Arkund user looks like. So to upload a document, the procedure is very simple. You need to select the upload documents option. Once you do that, you will, when you click that, you will be taken to to the next window where you need to enter the analysis address specific to your institution. Here, I would like to emphasize again that this particular analysis address is very important, and this can be given to an institution only when they have authorized access to Arkund. They are authorized user of Arkun. So if your college or institution doesn't have access to Arkun, probably you will not be able to use the Arkun tool. So, and then what happens, like when I get lot of queries regarding like whether they can use the BHU analysis address to uh, to check their documents for the plagiarism. I I always suggest, I always tell that I won't do, and I will I want them that please don't do it, because don't use any other institution's analysis address, because when the moment you submit a document using some other institution, the property, that particular document becomes the property of that particular institution. So when you like to go back and resubmit the document in your institution using the analysis address, uh, you will get you probably will get 100% plagiarism report for your own for the document, and from the document which you had previously submitted using the analysis address of the different institution. So never ever do that. Whenever you feel that your college or your institution doesn't have access to Orkun, kindly and you have to approach some other institution for this facility. Uh, Kindly get something in writing from your institution that you can actually do it, or probably you can contact InflivNet for the purpose, and they will help you out regarding this. So once you submit your document for the analysis, like in previous screen, I missed one thing. Like uh, once you upload the documents and click the submit button, uploading the documents is quite easy. It is just like attaching a document through your email. It's very simple. So once you submit a document, a confirmation mail regarding successful upload of thesis will be sent to the submitter. Then analysis report will be generated by the Ercon, and it will be sent to the receiver, and then the receiver will take appropriate action. So let me explain what strategy we are adopting in Banaras University. So we are asking the student to submit not only the exported analysis PDF form of the analysis report, we are also insisting upon the email is uh, which is being submitted, the email regarding the analysis report which is being sent by the ERCON to the receivers. We are also insisting the user to submit that also. I will explain what is the reason behind it. So when a user receives an email, they will get a link for the complete analysis report. When they click on that particular link, they will be taken to a different portal, something like this. The analysis report, the analysis report portal will look something like this. There, on the top, you can see there is a document overview bar, gives an overall visualization of all the findings, like the matching text or warnings, the matching text in orange, the warnings in blue color, or you can they give you an overall visualization about all the findings which the software was able to find. So each orange streak, if you click that, a small pop-up window will open which gives you uh, uh, access to the text block for which the similarity text has been found. Probably I would like to take you all to the real scenario, how exactly it looks like. So now I'm not able to. I think I need to look for that particular document as of right. It's not available with me. Uh, I will see if there is a possibility. As of now, you can see that the Arpun analysis report looks something like this, which is available on your. There is a tab for findings where you can navigate between the matching text and the warnings for your document. Probably as a user, you may not like to go and scroll through all your entire document to see where all the matching text has offered or there are warnings available. So by clicking on the matching text itself, take you to right through where all the text block, it will open the text block and the matching text from the other sources where you can make comparison and decide upon the changes you need to implement. Then there's a similarity box which suggests about the document aggregate percentage and obviously the receiver's overall average for the documents he has for the analysis reports till now he has received, and also the submission details regarding submission details like the document which has been submitted, who is the user, and when it was submitted. These all information will be available under the submission details tab. Then there are quick options where you can reset your analysis overview. Then there is an option to download. There is an inverted arrow. You can see under the quick options box. That is the arrow. When you click that, you can export your analysis report in PDF format. And then there is a help button to know more about Arpun. As I said that if you click on the orange streak, there is a snippet or a small text box gets opened, which suggests that there has been a kind of match or there is a similarity in the document. So in this particular block of text, and you can then decide upon whether the receiver can decide upon whether whether this is an actual case of plagiarism or not. So there is an option like include in analysis. You can actually toggle between include in analysis or exclude from the analysis by toggling the button which is provided just next to it. There is a link. I can show you how exactly an analysis. You can see that this is how the analysis is. This is the real report for a document which I had submitted. So you can see that there is a findings tab, similarity tab, and there is a submission details box. So like this, suppose you like to see what is the problem, like you need to click on the orange button. As of now, working with the tab, it's becoming a little bit difficult for me. Yeah. You can see the moment you click, a small snippet box gets opened where it will let you know that this particular part of the text comes from matches with a document which which is available on this particular URL, this WHO URL. So if you like to go further and see whether uh, what is like if you want this view this in detail, then you can click on view details. If you feel that this is not actually a case of plagiarism, then you can simply disable this particular part, and then the percentage would vary depending upon what has been included or what has been excluded. So this is how this particular tool facilitates you to revise the analysis report as a human or as a subject expert. So going back to the presentation. I have taken few examples of the analysis reports by Erkund. Okay, so many students, they keep on asking like, Madam, if I use some software where I use a technique where I go on replacing the text synonym and probably like they consider it as a kind of paraphrasing, which is actually not which is not actually plagiarism. It is actually a kind of article spinning technique where you are actually replacing the text by the synonyms. Like in this particular text, whatever this particular for this particular document, you can see that the user, the submitter has just replaced the text like useful has been replaced by applied, treatment has been replaced by therapy. Then it also reflects like the yellow ones the pink ones are actually the synonyms. The yellow ones are actually the replaced text for this particular block of text. So if you are thinking that by simply replacing the text with the synonyms, things will work for you, anti-plagiarism tool sounds far ahead, and they are actually smart enough to take care of this. They have well established dictionary with them. They are using it to control such kind of act that may lead to. So you can also see that the percentage on the top, you can see this 89%. This is nothing but it shows that like if you have in your text block, if you have 100 words, then 89% of it is matching with the other document. So kindly do not get confused with the overall similarity index which the Erkund produces. Okay. Again, then like if you are a submitter, I had received lot of concern from the student, like when they had submitted their document to Erkund, they did not wanted their document to be seen by other submitters, like those who are submitting later on. They did not wanted them to see their document. They still the document will be then the document will be available in the database, but then they don't want the other submitters to see the text in its entirety. So Erkund does offer an option where a submitter can exempt or unexempt their document from displaying in its entirety. So if a user has uh, unexempted his or her document uh, from to be seen in its entirety, something like this, the contents of the source document cannot be displayed, will appear on the submitter's screen. So, another option I would like to show where it is available. So when as a submitter, when you log into your dashboard, on your dashboard there is an option, right? there is an option. You can see that there is a small document icon. If you click there, let me show you by the real example. This is my dashboard. These two documents have been submitted by me. So if I want to decide upon whether I would like my submitted document to be seen by the other submitters in its entirety, if you click on this particular icon, you get the option to exempt or unexempt your document to be seen by the other side. Uh, this is one very interesting scenario. Uh, Initially, when we started working on Urkund, all the Hindi language document or other documents other than English, they were receiving something like 0% similarity reports for all the submissions. So there are two reasons why the other language documents are receiving less percentage, 0% or less percentage. One fact is known for everyone that very few documents in Indian language, very few web resources in Indian languages, in compared to other European languages, are available. That we all know that. Moreover, most of the time, since various text fonts are available which are non Unicode compliant. So if a user is using, like in most of the universities, I have seen that this Kruti Dev has been a prescribed font for printing the other for Hindi document. Likewise, for other language document, they had different sets of fonts. But so the users had been following this, and what happened? What happens like if you submit a non-Unicode compliant document in Arkund, something like this will appear, and definitely this shows that the Arkund doesn't is not able to recognize the text of the font which has been submitted, and this is how it gets displayed. The general characters will come, and for obviously the percentage for the document will be very low. So it's a kind of warning for the faculty members who are guiding the research thesis in other than English language. So kindly make sure that your scholar is writing his or her thesis in a Unicode compliant format, which can be thoroughly checked by the Arkund. What with my experience, what I have realized that the students are now not much afraid of not as much afraid of their supervisors, but they are afraid of this anti-plagiarism tool. They feel that the anti-plagiarism is going to catch them up, or I don't know. Is what goes on in their mind, I really don't know. But I have seen that they are mostly worried about how the anti-plagiarism tool will respond to their document. I always suggest that as long as they have written their document properly, they have cited all the resources, they have followed all the norms, which helps them to avoid plagiarism while writing their research write-up, they need not to worry. If there is a case of similarity, things can be taken. If again, even after taking care of all the nuances which should be taken care to avoid the plagiarism in a research write-up, even then, if there is a higher percentage, they need not to worry, because at the end of the day, it is the intention of the researcher, which we need to recognize. Like if you are doing it intently, like I had a case where initially the uh, researcher got something like 30 to 40% similarity index for her document, and after going through the document, I suggested her few measures and few updates in her write-up. I said that you can rework on your thesis and it won't take much time. You just do the needful. But the researcher was in hurry, and then the researcher uh, uh, what he or she adopted something which was like and I had to talk to the research supervisor, and I had to inform him that this has been done by your scholar. She used some few techniques, like if you enter on the Google, you may find several several help tool to dodge the plagiarism. So if you really intend to do so, then if your intentions are not good, nobody can save you. I am telling you that whatever since this regulation has come into picture, I am sure that in coming years that norms are going to be very strict, and the technology is evolving. Sooner or later you will be caught, and once you are caught, it is very difficult for you to go back and redo the things. I always say that you have invested 5 or 6 years in your research thesis, so your 5 or 6 years efforts are will go into vain if you are falling into the hands of such malpractices. So I always encourage scholars not to fall prey of such kind of thing, because it is going to ruin their entire career as such, because the UGC norms which are available right now are very strict, and I am sure that in coming years it is going to be even more strict. Not moving. So this is another snapshot for the common phrases or sentences. As I said, that Arkun or any anti-plagiarism tool comes with its own limitation, like they are unable to handle common phrases or sentences. Even if you go through the text many times, the institution name, like even the Banaras Hindu University, if it is there in the submitter's document, the similarity for that particular text will be provided by the tool. So these are the things which cannot be avoided in an anti-plagiarism tool, because uh, an anti-plagiarism tool cannot match the human heuristics as such. Uh, an anti-plagiarism tool works on certain algorithms, and uh, it is very difficult for a plagiarism tool to interpret and act like a human mind. So that is why I always say this anti-plagiarism tool comes to assist you. It doesn't come as a full-fledged solution to track down the plagiarism. As you can see that in this particular case, uh, there is text like "का मौका प्रदान किया जाता है." का मौका प्रदान किया जाता है. This is a very common phrase which we all keep on using, and many of the scholars I have seen, like uh, the supervisors, they do not bother to look into the entire report. That is an irony, and that is a difficulty which all the scholars probably would have been facing in their university or institution. Some supervisors, uh, they are very clear about how much the technology comes to assist you, but there are few people who are not aware about how this tool or technology works. So they probably feel that the higher percentage is something like definitely the student would have copied, but probably the case would not have been the scenario would not have been like that. Probably the scholar would have written everything in his or her own word, but then such kind of cases may occur and would lead to higher percentage of similarity index. Okay, so having said that, coming to the limitations of the software, uh, obviously, as I said, that it cannot understand the common phrases. Obviously, something like India is one of the most populated countries. And, probably even I would write, or many of the people who are attending this particular event would like to put it across. So, Arpun doesn't understand that. Probably they do it. I'm not saying that they are evolving, but the kind of level a human mind can think of, it will take certainly a lot of time to achieve that. Then they cannot identify the translated, rewritten, or paraphrased text. As it has been like there has been a confusion, like a few students they come and ask me like, madam, I have rewritten the entire text in my own words, whether I need to quote that particular reference. Yes, you must be quoting the reference because the idea is not yours. You have borrowed the idea and just rewritten it in your own words. So the credit of that idea goes to some other scholar. So the reference is very much needed. But then here the anti-plagiarism tool fails. So it is the duty of the supervisor to go through the document thoroughly and identify if there has been a paraphrasing and no referencing has been included for the paraphrased text. Then accuracy of the report depends upon the size of the database. Many students, they come and they tell that they got their document checked from some other tool and got very high percentage for the same document, whereas when they submit it to the Arpun, the percentage, similarity percentage is very, very less. So, so this is probably the answer to that particular query. The accuracy of the report depends upon the size of the database. Arkund is evolved because in India, this particular tool has been used by all the central universities, and every day their database is growing. So probably in coming years, we will see that the Arkund is going to match up with the one of the best plagiarism tool. So then obviously the algorithms for Indian languages are not well advanced. Then they can only identify the similarity that exists in the text but not in images. Obviously, it cannot match human and intelligence. So I would like to say that any anti-plagiarism tool can detect matching words but not the actual plagiarism. I don't know if we have time, whether you would like me to continue with this or
Madam, you have time.
if
You
we
can
have
go to
time. So,
10. You can go to 5, 10, 5.
okay, only few things I would like to put across. Like, I'm not going to read out all the things which the UGC has to offer in their regulation 2018 regarding academic integrating. Uh, then you are when a student is thinking of submitting a document, I request all the scholars to kindly go through the UGC regulation properly. Uh, I always insist upon that they should go through the document with even the research supervisor. They also should look into. They should also see that what UGC uh, uh, allows and what is not allowed in UGC regulation. Like all quoted work reproduced with all necessary permission can be excluded. All references, bibliography, table of content, preface, acknowledgement should not be included when you are making a plagiarism to check for your thesis. All generic terms, laws, standard symbols, and standard equations should be excluded from plagiarism check. So then the question comes, when these things are excluded, whether the submitter should remove those portions initially before submitting the document for plagiarism check. I always suggest that never do that. You go with your entire thesis. Probably you can remove the references, bibliography, table of content, preface, and acknowledgements where the text is kind of repetitive text. For generic terms, laws, standard symbols, and standard equations, probably that you can include as appendix. If at all it is needed within the text, go for it, and probably you can use the option of include in analysis, exclude in analysis later on. So that way you make your intention very clear that you don't want to hide anything uh, from plagiarism checks. You can always say that the text was very much available, but since the UGC regulation permitted, we resolved and we excluded it from the analysis report. Uh, the ERCON facilitates you once you do the exclusion, accordingly the percentage for that particular submitted document keeps on going down uh, as you go on excluding the particular text from the analysis. Even that I can show you, like probably my document which I was referring has very low percentage, otherwise I could have shown how it works. Research work carried out by the student, faculty, researcher, and staff shall be based on original ideas, which shall include. So these are the things which should be included when you are carrying out your research work. So UGC mandates that your abstract, summaries, hypotheses, observations, results, conclusions, and recommendations should not have any similarities, and it must go with your text for the plagiarism check. Then there is something very interesting to know, that it also mandates for you to exclude a common knowledge or coincidental terms up to 14 consecutive words. So obviously, if you have something like India is one of the most populated countries, the example which I have given, you feel that this is commonly occurring knowledge which anybody can use. So up to and if it is less than 14 words, you can exclude it from the analysis. But again, there is a catch. Who should do the exclusion or inclusion? Whether it should be the submitter or the receiver. So to be on in our institution, what we have done, the university has instituted departmental anti-plagiarism committee in each and every department. So a student who has submitted his or her work for plagiarism tool check and have got an analysis report. The analysis report is then sent to the supervisor. The supervisor then present the analysis report before the DAPC. Now the DAPC will have a should does a thorough scrutiny of the analysis report, and they will try to find out if actually the similarity which has been shown by the anti-plagiarism is a case of plagiarism or not. I would like to say that it is not necessary that a document which has received 0% of similarity index doesn't mean that that particular document not is free from plagiarism. Whereas a document which has received something like 60% or 70% similarity index or 100% similarity index may necessarily may not be the case of plagiarism. So when the DAPC goes through the complete analysis report, and then they decide upon what should be excluded, what should be included. Based on that, they make the changes in the analysis report, and the percentage accordingly it varies. Based on that, the decision is taken whether the thesis should be accepted for further process or not. So this is how my institution as of now is working. There had been a few cases like, there is a regulation by the UGC itself that a researcher needs to come out with at least 2 publications during their research period, which should be related to their research work. So what happens, a student before going for journal publication, they come and submit the document for plagiarism check, and probably the document is already published with some journal publisher. So what happens when they, after completing their thesis, when they come and submit their document for plagiarism check, so they get more than 10% of similarity report because of the fact, because of their own document which is published with a publisher. So there they come and say that, madam, this is my own publication which I have published with so and so publisher. So there I suggest that kindly convey this to your DAPC committee. Include proper reference of your already published work in your thesis. First thing, they need to report it to they need to be reported to the DAPC. Also, the scholar must study the copyright policy of the publisher. Nowadays, many reputed journal publishers, they are allowing already published work to be included as part of the thesis. Not exactly in the form they are published by the journal, but definitely whatever the postprint or the preprints of that particular document have been prepared can be used directly in the thesis. But certainly it becomes a case of self plagiarism, and recently there has been a regulation by UGC on self plagiarism, and now you are at the mercy of the subject expert whether they like to accept your document which has been published by 2 different institutions. So I really don't know. The scenario is still not very clear. I certainly feel that there should be a clear guideline from the institution or probably from the UGC rather than because most of the publisher now, since they are permitting, they do not have objection as long as you are including the published work as part of your thesis. So probably a clear understanding about this should be done. In my institution, this is happening, and DAPC, after proper resolution and after going through the copyright policy of the journal publisher, they are going with the percentage that has been generated. Some of the penalties, probably you can go through it. The role of supervisor becomes very much important. I always suggest students that rather,
This is last or 2 slides are there still?
yeah, this is last, and this okay, fine. These are few takeaways. Like for the supervisor, they should encourage their students to go through the copyright policy and of the publisher before they go for publishing, and definitely the scholar should be made aware about the plagiarism and its consequences. These comment I would like to end up and thank you all for your patient hearing, and over to Dr. Shukla.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And now we are going to move to question answer session. But before that, I would like to clear some doubts of participants. They are asking regarding PPT. and video and certificate. So I want to make them clear that in the registration form, we are going to receive their email, and with the permission of presenter, PPT will be sent to their personal email. Not we cannot share here. It will be sent to email if presenter will give the permission. Regarding certificate, you have to fill up the data correctly so we can generate the certificate on time, and we will send through email, because automatically there is 100 number of limitations are there. We can send 100 certificates in one day, and registrations are more, so it takes time. So please submit data carefully, and no duplicate should be there. So it will help us to finish the certificate fastly. And regarding video, the recorded video will be shared through Google Drive, because the size is too big, so we cannot share through email. So we have your email, so through email we'll share the videos for future use. And now I'm asking two questions, madam. We have received so many questions,
Okay.
and there are good number of questions are there. So the one question is that how to get the access of Kurkun software for colleges or universities, those who don't have.
Probably you need to contact with the Erkund customer support. They would help you out. In India, there is a e-Galactic company. They are taking care of, they are franchisee of the Erkund in India. So probably get in touch with those people, or probably you can write to InflipNet. Dr. Manoj Kumar, he is there, who is taking care of Erkund software in InflipNet, and he is deciding upon the access option. So probably you can get in touch with him and have access to this particular tool.
The next question is, madam,
Yeah.
that anti-plagiarism software are how much reliable, as they have very different type of coverage and different type of qualities are there. Some person is using Turnitin, some person is using Urkun, some is Authenticate. So what is their reliability? How to select that? Which one is much better?
This is what I was trying to put across, that you take any anti-plagiarism tool. You talk about Erkund, Turnitin, which is been mostly used by the like, which is one of the mostly used tool by the institutions across the world. So you take any anti-plagiarism, they cannot be self-sufficient. A single tool cannot be self-sufficient. The percentage they generate, as I have already suggested, that it depends upon the number of documents it has in their database. So I insist upon that which the anti-plagiarism tool is there to assist you. When I say it is there to assist you, the similarity percentage it generates for the submitted document has to be thoroughly scrutinized by the subject expert. It comes as a tool to assist you. It is not the one thumb rule to avoid plagiarism in academia. So this is what I would like to say. So if Turnitin is producing something like 30% or Erkund is producing 6%, the scholar has to be very, very careful about the percentage it has been generating. I always insist upon your intentions should be very clear when you are developing your write-up. Kindly make sure that whatever text you are borrowing from others is properly cited. You should not, your intention should not appear that you wanted to dodge the scholar in any form or format. Probably if one tool is generating 30%, other is generating 10%, who you should look up to? Obviously, the one which is producing 30%, you should go for it, because today the tool which is producing 10%, and on the basis of that 10%, if you are going to submit your document, probably today you will be getting awarded with the degree. But later on, down the lane, 10 years, if somebody comes up and they say that you have plagiarized so and so check, you have plagiarized so and so text from my document, and which was not cited in your text, and because of that you were getting 30% by the other software. I tell you that these regulation has repercussions, like it will have reverse implications on your degree, and you may lose whatever credits you have used, you have earned based on that particular uh, on, based on that particular document.
Madam, one more question is there. Here, someone asked that if somebody is thinking that it is his idea and it is already available on public platform. So he is asking that whether it is coming under plagiarism or not, because at the same time, two person can have the same idea.
Then obviously the person who has put it across first, who has reported it first, belongs to that, the idea belongs to that person. The person who has reported the idea
Madam,
belongs to that.
cancel your screen sharing. I'm asking question. One query is that when somebody is writing research and they are writing references or bibliographies, so before checking the plagiarism, whether we should include the references or bibliographies or we have to remove that one.
References and other things, like in our institution, it has been made very clear to all the scholars that they should not be including references, but then it depends upon the policy of that particular institution where you are studying. Kindly go and check with the administrators and find out whether the referencing should go or not. As such, in UGC regulation, this particular portion has been excluded, so it is always good that you avoid it. You should not include, like from my side, I always say that you need not to include it, as it has been already made clear by the made clear in the UGC regulation.
One more question is there regarding somebody want to check his paper in the Ukun alternative software, anyone, and if already some paper is saved in their archive and due to unawareness of the features of the software, we are submitting our document and it is coming the 100%, showing 100% plagiarism. So in that case, how to deal with this one? This kind of problems if it is coming.
Okay. 100%, if the document is submitted by the same person, definitely the submitter can report this to the admin. They can give it in writing that by mistake the document was earlier submitted, and I hold the ownership of that particular document. They need to produce enough proof that the document belongs to them, and the document can be deleted.
Now I would like to invite Dr. Maya to give the feedback of the webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla. Firstly, I would like to pay my thanks to Dr. Sneha Tripathi ma'am for detailed description of theoretical and practical aspects of Urkun. I am sure that we have learned a lot from the presentation, especially that anti-plagiarism tool is not a solution to control the plagiarism. We have to be very careful about the plagiarism from initial stage of the research work, because beside that we learn how we can upload manuscript on the Urkun for a similar teacher. Question and answer session was very interactive. We have received many questions from the audience but could not answer all the questions due to limitation of time. However, I have hope that you might have satisfied with the answers given by the resource person. Now I would like to call Dr. Shukla to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Maya, for inviting me to deliver the vote of thanks. Indeed, it is a very nice job to give the credit to those who helped us in smooth organization of the webinar. It is also well known that no single person can do every job in such a big event. In light of this, we are very much thankful to Professor B.P. Sharma, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gautam Buddha University, Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh, and Professor Aditya Prasad Das, Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu, to grant the permission to organize a webinar in joint venture with all administrative support. We received consent through email from both the Vice Chancellors on the day of the proposal itself. We are very much grateful to both of you, sir, for your kind support, without which it was not possible to organize the webinar. Further, our sense of gratitude go to Professor Shweta Anand, Dean Academics, Gautam Buddha University, and Professor S. Ravi, Dean School of Communications, Central University of us morally and motivating us to organize such kind of events. The program took shape based on the capability and expertise of the speaker. On behalf of Gautam Buddha University and Central University of Tamil Nadu, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Dr. Sneha Tripathi, Deputy Librarian, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, for accepting our invitation within short period of time, sparing her precious time because she has two school-going children and always busy with their school homework and assignments, and for delivering a wonderful technical presentation. Thank you, madam, once again for your nice support. Without technical and manpower support, it was not possible to organize big events like this. In this regard, I would like to give our sincere vote of thanks to Mr. Neeraj Kumar Tiwari from Avisco Information Service for providing us his technical platform to hold such kind of events, and his regular trial run support to resource person and us also. I would like to give very warm regards and wish to acknowledge our sincere vote of thanks to the audience and participants who joined us from their busy schedule and showing their keen interest to learn about Urkun. I hope you learned about technical and ethical aspects of Urkun anti-plagiarism software. Today we had more than 579 participants have joined, and I could see some important names which I would like to name, like Professor S. Ravi, Professor M. K. Sinha, Dr. T.P. Tripathi, Dr. Munawwar Iqbal, Dr. Ramesh Gaur, Professor S. Pathi, Professor R. N. Mishra, Professor A. C. Shukla, Dr. Amit Kumar, Dr. Nitin Mishra, Dr. P. K. Dixit, Dr. Vipin Pandey, Mr. Deepak Kumar Kapoor, Dr. C. Velmurugan, Dr. Sudesh Kumar, and many more who are personally known to us, and others are also there, but we cannot. We don't have any kind of affiliation, so very difficult to identify them. But welcome everyone. We would like to thank all those persons and group admins who broadcasted our webinar information and brochure to many platforms and circulated to interested participants. Give my special thanks to my students and known friends from Mizoram University, from BHU, as well as Central University of Tamil Nadu, and friends from other places who attended the webinar on request. I would like to give special thanks to students and staff of Gautam Buddha University, also who joined the webinar for the sake of knowledge and technical know-how. In the last, I would like to pay my special thanks to Dr. Maya Devi, Deputy Librarian, Gautam Buddha University, Greater Noida, for inviting me to have a joint webinar, as well as for her continuous technical support and hard work to make successful this webinar. Thank you once again. Thank you one and all. I request all the participants to fill up the registration form, and please do not repeat duplicate entries or wrong information. You have option to edit that one. After your editing, final submission, we will generate the certificate. So please take care, and the link will be open for 10 minutes. Thank you very much.